Today we will be reviewing Chapter 5 of Doug Buell's Developing Readers in the Academic Disciplines. The essential question of the chapter is how can teachers mentor students as disciplinary readers, writers, and thinkers?
In order to become a more effective reader, there are a couple of reading strategies that can be applied when reading. In Chapter 5, Buehl introduces several excellent reading techniques that can be very beneficial in trying to decipher more challenging or disciplinary texts. Being a disciplinary insider means having a strong connection with a specific material. The material can range from academic subjects such as a branch of science or history, all the way to something more relaxing and laid back, such as sports or even cooking. Effective disciplinary insiders apply text-to-text, text-to-world, and text-to-self information to the context that they are reading, in order to give them a deeper connection to the text. This is done by utilizing their disciplinary lens, which helps guide their reading. Disciplinary lens is a term used for an understanding of topic. To improve a disciplinary lens, the reader or student must read as though they are already an expert in the field. Strengthening their disciplinary lens also helps insiders become better at analyzing future disciplinary texts that they read.
Although it seems only like a disciplinary insider can understand a disciplinary text, it is not true. Approaching a text with an inquiring mind is the first step in being able to fully comprehend a text, from its simplest ideas all the way to its most complex. Oftentimes, students are unwilling to read disciplinary texts because the work is assigned to them. He continues to say, disciplinary insiders approach the texts of their discipline using a reading mentality, using reading as a point of personal access to knowledge and ideas that can inform actions and address questions. This quote shows us what exactly insiders do differently that helps them to better understand the texts they read. Insiders constantly reflect upon what they have read in order to develop deeper connections with the text.
The first and probably most simple way to become a better disciplinary reader is by asking essential questions. Essential questions are questions which try and address the big ideas of the text, often having complex and extensive answers. They require much thought and often will have more than one answer. These questions will usually encourage discourse as well. Teachers should encourage students to ask themselves essential questions while reading, instead of simple questions with obvious answers known as leading questions.
Good essential questions that would help to promote thinking and engagement may include: what is the significance of the setting? What are the roles of the main characters? And what were the consequences of their actions? As you can tell, these questions will cause the readers to think more deeply about what they are reading.
Another important technique to deepen a reader's understanding of text is being able to engage with it more as an insider would. Question the author. Treating the author as if he is merely a person speaking to you will encourage you to develop a conversation with him or her. Taking this approach, you will find yourself constantly asking questions. Why did the author say that? What was his point? I agree or disagree with him because. Asking and answering these questions will enhance your connections to the text, as well as making the text more interesting.
Questioning the author is a good technique to use when reading disciplinary history texts, especially when reading first-hand documents such as the Declaration of Independence. When reading through the words, it would be effective to ask authors what they were thinking when they were writing. Perhaps it might help to wonder, why exactly was this document written? Breaking down reading and trying to understand the motivation behind a written text can be helpful in understanding it.
Lastly, teachers should encourage students to apply a self-questioning taxonomy strategy while reading. This method consists of 6 stages of interacting with the text. These 6 stages, from most basic to complex, are remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and lastly, creating.
Applying each of these strategies while reading will help readers to develop a unique variety of connections to the text, as well as engage themselves with the author. Remembering is the most basic strategy. Remembering occurs when the reader recalls what exactly the text was about and its main points.
Next, by using understanding, the reader attempts to comprehend what the author was saying throughout the article. Doing so can help to pinpoint what exact messages, themes, or ideas the author was trying to convey throughout the text. Applying allows the reader to use newly learned information to create connections to the world around them and other similar disciplinary texts. This helps give them a deeper understanding of what they have just learned.
Analyzing the text involves the reader making deeper connections to the text, relating it to real life and prior knowledge about the subject. Evaluating the text allows the reader to identify what exactly the author's purpose and point of view was. Why did he write this text? Did he accomplish his purpose or goal?
Creating involves self-reflection in that the reader creates new knowledge. How has this text affected you? What did you learn from this text? And how will this affect your future outlook? Self-questioning taxonomies can be employed in a variety of subjects. They often result in the development of different questions and ideas, as disciplinary texts are quite different from one another.
For instance, science texts might utilize the applying level of thinking to ask questions such as, how does Newton's third law affect my day-to-day life? An example of evaluation might be, how do I know what the author is saying is true? What evidence has he given me? Applying levels of thinking to science texts will also help readers correct any misconceptions that they have about science. In asking questions about the text and developing answers to these questions, their knowledge on the subject will be clarified and/or strengthened.
Finally, a critical part of the self-questioning taxonomy for science texts is identifying cause-effect relationships within the text. This falls under the analyzing level of thinking, as it involves making relationships within the text. Cause-effect relations are a key part of understanding science texts, as the concepts often build upon one another. In recognizing each and every cause-effect relation, students will be able to better understand the text and make relationships to everyday life.
Using self-questioning taxonomy can be compared to the scientific method, with each of the 6 steps easily relating to developing a question, researching, observing, analyzing, applying, and drawing a conclusion.
In this chapter, Buehl explains several extraordinary techniques that, when employed properly, can be very helpful to understanding disciplinary texts. Although assigned reading may be boring and difficult, there are many strategies that can be used to make it easier to understand.